Colonel Griffith Jenkins Griffith gifted the site to the city of Los Angeles in 1896 as a Christmas present. Shortly after he was released from San Quentin, he offered the city a further investment to build the observatory too. Development of the Ferndale Trail began in 1910, and its name is said to be given by the many varieties of ferns that were planted alongside the stream, and also from a village named Mococahengua when the area originally belonged to the Gabrielino or Tongva. Much of the development of the trail started in the 1900s, then later expanded by the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the CCC, one of the employment projects started by President Roosevelt to provide work for the young men during the Great Depression, and to also upgrade city parks across America. As you walk through the trail, you may notice a lot of stone walls or gravity retaining walls, which were created not only to support the bridges and other structures built by the CCC, but to also stop erosion on the steep hills. Many of the trees were either prevented from growing or it forced the stone to lift. Even after the precaution of the steepness for the trail, Ferndale began to slip downhill around the mid-20th century as a result of visitors going away from the paths that were made and exploring more of the steeper areas. There are two sets of trails to take up to the observatory, depending on which one you actually wanted to hike. The east trail will be steeper, while the west trail will have a good view of not only the city of LA, but also two of its famous landmarks, the Hollywood sign and the observatory. You also get a good view of the elevation of both trails and the surrounding mountains. The United States Geological Survey, USGS, makes maps available on their website if you want to use a topographic map for these trails.
Ferndale being able to cure any sickness were spread around the same time as LA, also being a health tourism destination, relating it to the belief of the Fountain of Youth. People would then take jugs to fill them up with water, but over time, the water became contaminated and they had to result in a well being dug out and faucets being added at the bottom of the trail. The first way streams protect themselves is the growth of deep and densely rooted water-loving plants along the stream channel, which hold the riparian soil together. This streamside area is known as the riparian zone. An old pump house that was used as a water recirculating system can be seen as you walk up the trail. It used to capture water from the stream as it flowed from the west side of the road under Ferndale Drive. A large pipe, which is still visible, fed water into the pump, where it was pumped back up the hill and it was released back into a different part of the stream. This made maximum use of the small amount of water that naturally flowed down the stream. The remainder of the water that was not captured continued down the stream on the east side of the road and disappeared into the storm drains on Los Feliz Boulevard. There is a section of the trail that also has man-made streams that used to be fed with water from the observatory's cooling system and gurgled its way down through the dell. When the observatory was renovated, however, the cooling system was replaced and no longer releases its refreshing stream, so the stone-lined brooks through the picnic areas are dry. There is also a rocky grotto or man-made cave that is still functional, but the amount of water in it varies. But when there is water flowing, it is very relaxing to see.
Evelyn and I will be talking about the solar system and what each planet contains. I will talk about Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and Jupiter. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars are terrestrial planets, which mean Earth-like planets, while Jupiter is a Jovian planet, which means gas-like planet. These planets are composed of gases which include hydrogen and helium, also rocks which include silicate minerals and metallic ions, also ices like ammonia, methane, carbon dioxide, and water. Starting off with Mercury, which is the closest planet to the Sun, with a distance of 43 million miles. It is a dense planet with cratered highlands and smooth terrains. It takes about 88 days to orbit the Sun. Next, we have Venus, which is the second closest planet to the Sun, which is 67.355 miles away. Venus is very similar to Earth, just slightly smaller. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. It is surrounded in thick clouds with an atmosphere of 97% carbon dioxide. The surface of Venus is 80% plains created from thousands of volcanic structures. This is also the only planet that rotates at an opposite direction from others. Next, we have our home, which is Earth. Earth is the third closest planet to the Sun with a distance of 93 million miles. Earth's surface contains of rocks, soil, and 70% of water. Earth is filled with life, which means humans, plants, and animals. Earth's atmosphere is composed of about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% of other natural gases. Mars is known for being the red planet, with a distance of 129.17 million miles from the Sun. It has an atmosphere of 1% as dense as Earth. It is primarily carbon dioxide. Mars is a dry and dusty desert planet with cold polar temperatures of negative 193 Fahrenheit. It has extensive dust storms with winds up to 170 miles per hour. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system with a distance of 465.76 million miles. Jupiter has high-speed winds with huge whirling windstorms racing across the planet. Cloudscapes of ammonia ice crystals swirling through Jupiter's hydrogen atmosphere. Jupiter is so big because it has captured many moons and 63 satellites, but the largest that have been discovered is Callisto, Europa, Ganymede, and Ion.
Jerlyn covered Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and Jupiter, and I will talk about Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Starting off with Saturn, also known as the ringed world. Saturn has particles of ice that form a complex set of rings that circle gas giant Saturn. Saturn bleaches clouds of ammonia ice crystals from deep within its atmosphere. Its mass is approximately 5.68 kilograms. It is about 95 times the mass of Earth. Saturn has a thick atmosphere with cloud layers and haze. The cloud top temperature is negative 280 degrees Fahrenheit. The cloud layer temperature is negative 178 degrees Fahrenheit. Lastly, the core temperature is 21,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The distance from Earth and Saturn is an average of 890 million miles. Next, I will be talking about Uranus, also known as the sideways planet. Uranus is a planet that is tipped over on its side, and it has a thick atmosphere that is unevenly heated by the sun. This results as a world with extreme weather and seasons. Uranus' distance from the sun is 1.8 billion miles away. The planet's temperature is negative 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Uranus' texture has no solid surface and is surrounded by 13 faint rings and 28 small moons. Lastly, Uranus is the third largest planet in our solar system. Next up, we have Neptune, also known as distant ice. Neptune has a windy atmosphere that is speckled with huge dark spots that appear and disappear. Neptune has one large moon and a swarm of smaller ones that orbit the planet. The distance between Neptune and the Sun is an average of 2.8 billion miles away. Neptune's surface temperature is around a negative 391 degrees Fahrenheit. Neptune's texture is an ice giant, which means that it has no solid surface. Its atmosphere is mainly composed of hydrogen, helium, and methane. The mass is approximately 330,000 times the mass of Earth. Lastly, I will be talking about Pluto and beyond, also known as frontier worlds. Pluto is a small planet with a silicate core, liquid water ocean, and a water ice crust. Pluto's plains are made of nitrogen ice and mountains. that are made of water ice. The distance between Pluto and the Sun is an average of 3.7 billion miles away. Pluto's mass is 1/6 of the Earth's moon. Lastly, Pluto is no longer considered a planet.